any person, as long as I observe the rule of law, and I also observe the constitutionalism of this country. Actually, after suffering unduly, because I was abducted, I was taken to the Ndasolera prison. I was moved from the Ndasolera prison and taken to Kiambu, and this suffering has never been brought to any public domain. The kind of suffering I underwent in 2021 in the hands of Matiang'i, who claimed that I had the ability to kill him. Actually, he reported me to the police. He took me to the DCI on account that I wanted to kill him. And basically what I was telling Matiang'i, I was telling him that you are in a public office and you must ensure that whatever you do to a fellow human being, you should expect the same to be done to you.
Yeah.
And I want also,
Dr. Could you kindly land, because we're giving people 2 minutes each. Please take your...
So okay. The reason why I'm bringing this to the public is because there are so many young people, there are so many Kenyans who are suffering unduly. They are willing and ready to join the revolution, but they're afraid that when they're abducted, when they're taken to prison, nobody cares about that. So Dr. Miguna, I can request you. I'm requesting you here to be at the forefront to ensure that any patriot, any person who comes out to fight against the brutality in this country, the atrocity in this country, actually is in your record, so that they find a way of being helped here and there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kenyan checklist. I'm so sorry. Good that you're raising your hand. I really have not forgotten about you. Take a go.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Now, are we allowed now to speak our mind?
From the very beginning, you were allowed. Just stay within those 2 minutes, please. Yeah. Over to you.
Maybe I want to first of all ask a question. You know, we have to get a clear direction where we are going, and we also have to get rid of people who are taking advantage or the opportunists, people who are not clear on what they want. Let me call out Miguna. Miguna is not helping us in any way. He is a lawyer. Our people are being taken to for custody. Miguna has not helped even one single protester.
No, let me ask. Hold on. If you have a Twitter, yes, I want to let him speak, Dr. Ray, but he has a Twitter handle, and to come and blame you as a lawyer for not having help.
You say we are all on the right on the.
So can you please let me speak?
Checklist, the direction.
So what I'm going to say here is
Maz,
that...
can you hear him? I can't hear him at all.
No, I think Hillary has muted him. So I'm going to tell you people, all of you, some of you are sycophant. You went in and refused to think. You followed your favorite politician. You were a sycophant. Now, when they turn against you because politicians are the same, you come here and start blaming people. We are not going to be that emotional dustbin where you come to insult people or to attack people personally. So if you have a personal attack against anyone, you are on Twitter, you can use that Twitter handle to attack that person. If you're coming to contradict their idea, you're free. So sorry, and this is something that has not gone very well with people, but no attacks are going to happen in this space. There are many people, personal attacks, no. Calling out an idea and say this is a bad idea, yes. So back to you as you finish your 2 minutes.
And before he comes in, let us focus on the idea or our topic today. That is making sense. I think all of us are here in one mission, and that mission should be one. So somebody coming and we don't want to divert attention. You know, I think Dr. has been volunteer advices for everybody all the time since we start these spaces. So when you're saying that, I don't think that we're sincere on the same. Otherwise, he's dropped. So I don't know who's next. Say away, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Fred. You have a mic. Oh, Mumbi, go ahead. Sarah is still struggling, maybe. Mumbi?
And apart from that, before Mumbi goes, Hillary, and this is just my personal opinion there, some of them also voted on tribal lines. And when their tribal kingpins have turned against them, they're coming. Yes, it's a serious situation, but please, let's not use it to have personal attacks. They are not allowed. Mumbi?
Thank you for the opportunity once again. I'd like to encourage everyone and to thank everyone for turning out. Every time we are called upon to turn out to defend our rights in our nation. For me, it's more of a question: how do we get everyone on board, everyone who's Kenyan? Because now it's more termed as a Gen Z or a young people revolution, but where we are at, it's supposed to be everyone. How do we get everyone on board? Another thing is, I am a believer in Christ, and Ruto has, from the start, even during campaigns, gone to church. So I'm calling upon the church to actively criticize the government because it's their role. Because when they say all we do is just pray and pray and pray, prayer sometimes without action is dead. Faith without action is dead. As you can see in the book of Joshua, when there was occupation of Israel, when they were marching around the wall of Jericho for 6 days, we had spiritual leaders actively in this. So I'm calling upon the church to stand up with us, even if they're going to call for week or fast or go to the streets with us, but they can't. During this time, they can't stay silent at all, because they're the ones who can also reach our parents and the older generation, because they really listen to them apart from the president. So I'm really calling upon the church to stand up with us, to stand up with the nation, and to help us educate our parents and be active in this, not just telling us, oh, we need dialogue, oh, we need to pray. They need to be active in this. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Dr. Ri, would you let us know if you want to chime in now? Or if you, okay.
I would
Please
like
go.
to, so much. Thank you very much for what you are doing. I want to explain a few things to a few people, and I've been saying this for a long time, but it doesn't seem like it's getting into everyone. But I don't expect it to get into everyone. Number one, this struggle is a voluntary struggle. Nobody is forcing anyone to struggle. If you feel that you support tyranny and looting, plunder, and the destruction of the country, by all means, feel free to support the regime. But you are a few. We will defeat you. So, but feel free to support them. If you do support theft of public resources, then we have a right to conclude that you are also a thief. If you support murder, we have a right to conclude that you are a murderer. If you support abductions and torture, we have a right to believe that that's what you do either for a living or you do it as a habit. Regardless, you have chosen your side. I chose my side when I was young, at the ages of the Gen Zs. I was only 18 when I chose the struggle. I've never left it. Now, clearly, Miguna does not hold public office, and I've never held public office since 2011. So everybody knows that. And there has been no allegations of corruption against Miguna, not once. Miguna has never been terminated because of violations of Article or Chapter 6 of the Constitution. What we are having are specific problems that Kenyans have faced for a very long time. I don't feature in them. I only feature as a resistance, as somebody who is resisting these atrocities against the Kenyan people. So if you're attacking me, it means that you don't want me to continue fighting for social justice. So we know where you stand. There is no problem. Secondly, the Kenya the Law Society of Kenya, and starting from the President Faith Odhiambo, have been very gallant in representing all
people who have been arrested, who have been abducted, who have been charged pro bono. They have given their toll-free numbers for everybody to call them in the event that you are arrested. Why do you want Miguna to be representing you? And you are right here on Spaces, you have not even been arrested. What is it that you want from me? I'm not your father. I'm not your mother. I'm just a fellow citizen. I'm a compatriot trying to fight for your freedom. It should not matter where Miguna is at any specific time physically. The only people demanding to know where I am are the people who came to my home already twice to abduct me. Why is that your interest? Why is your interest the fact that Miguna has not visited you at home and yet I don't know who you are? So let us focus, as I said, and I will repeat for the purposes of everyone. This is a collective effort. It is not a personal fight. We are fighting a systemic problem, a problem that started during British colonialism. The problem of theft of public resources and land, the problem of misappropriation of public resources, the problem of assassinations, the problem of murder, the problem of torture. These are things that started during colonialism. Kenyatta continued them. Moi continued them. Kibaki continued them. Uhuru continued them. And now Ruto is perfecting them. These are the things that Kenyans want a stop to. Now, finally, not everybody will be fighting the system because we know that a few, a tiny fraction, less than 1%, are fighting to continue their privileges. This is to be expected, the collaborators of the system. So anybody who is looking for all Kenyans to join the fight is just naive. Not everyone will be fighting the system because we have beneficiaries of the system. We also have sympathizers of the system. Let us unite as patriots and wipe them out. It doesn't matter whether you are from my age group or not, or whether you are from my tribe or not, or whether you are from my class or profession or gender. We must unite as patriots to protect our country from being destroyed fatally by Ruto and his regime and their collaborators. That's all I wanted to say. There is nothing personal in this fight. This is a collective effort.
Thank you so much, Daktari. And so do liars with Hillary so that at least we get to know how much more minutes you have, and then we can see when to end the space and at least plan to have the invited guest speakers also give their closing remarks. As you liars with the Hillary in the background, and Neto, anytime you want to speak, just feel free to chime in. So we go by Ndolo and then Ains, then Rogers.
Also, Marge, remember to tell people to follow each other. You follow the speakers.
Yeah, okay, yes. Let's not forget to build a network because.
Number. Yeah.
Okay, Kings noted. Ndolo.
Shukran. Mwanisikia?
Sambamba.
Shukran ndugu na kaka Miguna, Neto Agustino, Hana, Marge, Hillary, na wengine wote walio. I mean, the conversation is good. And mine is just to insist on some things, for a very long time, we've always been saying that it is the institution, the professional institutions that can give us good leaders. Okay? So if it is the professional institution like, say, LSK, those one can give us good leaders. If you go to the engineers, if you go to the accountants, if you go to the nurses, the quantity surveyors, these are the people who can give us good leaders in the country. But if the institutions are not fighting for their members well, then problems are going to come up because an angry man, or rather somebody who is very hungry, who needs food, rather, will always look at the stomach. So when the financial bill was being passed, and then there were issues like dropping, trying to make sanitary towels be expensive, I wondered why. Yet, if you go on my timeline, there's a lady who has been doing sanitary towels. She dropped out of her. She left her job that was, I think, she was an air hostess, and then she started producing cheap sanitary towels in the country. Yet she's not an engineer. This is somebody who can be supported and ensure that the local manufacturing sector grows. So I find it very hard when a few group of professionals in the engineering sector, for where I come from, that you find very few young people trying to say, hey, we need to ensure that local content is adhered to. We need to ensure that this one is adhered to, so that we promote the local companies, the local institutions that can bring jobs. But the few group of people up there in the professional societies are not seeing that there's a problem. They're very comfortable up there. That said, this movement, it has never been about, um, it is not about Ruto. It's about the continuous misperception and poor use of institutional offices. Much I see your hand, I'm winding up. And I find it very hard that, very hard to understand why people are keep on saying that we need to amend the constitution. We need the constitution the way it is okay. 47 counties. We just need to ensure that, if possible, we make sure that Nairobi County become under the national government, but make sure the 47 counties remain as they are, and the constituencies, they remain as they are. The thing is, we need to implement the constitution and block all the loopholes. We will end up with a good leadership. We will end up with good administration. We will end up having good resources in the county. Why should Mombasa people in Kisumu go for a retreat to benchmark everywhere they are going? They're going to benchmark all the time. These people are going to benchmark. Didn't they study outside the country? I mean, there are people who've studied outside the country. Raila was in Germany, whoever was wherever. Everybody was in different places, apart from Ruto, of course.
Try to land, please. So that,
I'm learning.
thank
So
you.
they have seen things working elsewhere, but they're not trying to do the same thing in the country. Let's promote Dr. Miguna, Neto, and I've seen a good friend Ndegwa there. Let's push for local content and local manufacturing sector that can provide jobs for our people. And this, I believe that Miguna have seen it working in elsewhere in other countries. So I believe that this talk should continue. In as much as we want changes, I'm an engineer and I don't want David Chirchir to be the Minister for Roads and Transport. Kindly help me push this thing out. My people are not talking, they're quiet. The engineering fraternity, that is. They're not talking, they're quiet. But I'm not comfortable with David Chirchir as the Minister for Roads and Transport. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Ndolo, for that. I imagine Kings don't add anybody on the mic, but let us deal with the people who are here first. Then we know as we're winding up. So I think whoever is coming, it is important also to give your last views as we give our speakers as we wind up much. So Bazuri, then Rogers, Ndegwa, just hold on. You give your mic. Bazuri.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, Hillary. Thank you so much, Maj and Kings, and of course, Daktari, for the wonderful and very insightful conversation that we're having today. My condolences to those that have fallen, and of course, quick recovery to those who are recovering in hospitals and other places. Today, as we are trying to have the conversation with the general, I am with the people that will say Ruto must go. And, my reasons for why Ruto must go is that, a while back when he realized that country was full of people who were stealing and corrupt and all that. He uttered and said that, there are three things involved, right? Either people go to jail, they exile themselves, or go to heaven. Unfortunately, what we have seen when people started helping him, what he said he was going to do, he has started taking innocent Kenyans to those places. He is abducting young people, some of them, in hospital, some of them in jail, some of them are dead. The three places that he's going to, and some of them, of course, are running away from the country. And those are the places that he said he was going to take them. And therefore, I'm so disappointed. And therefore, I will continue saying Ruto must go. And of course, those who understand what we are talking about, when you talk about Ruto, we are talking about the system, the regime that is so hell-bent to do whatever they want to do to make sure that the people continue anguishing and buying fear, whatever. I therefore say we have to continue listening to each other and occupy all places that are allowing these Ruto and regime and the clowns to continue gathering and collecting money that will continue stealing from us. We cannot continue business as usual. We have seen other people, the people that, everybody would give us an example of that, if you go to this place, this is how they do it. If you go to this place, now those examples have come to fruition, and now we can also do the same. That Ruto must see that the coffee is ready and it is smelling nicely, and he has to do the honorable thing, pack and go. Kenya is not short of leaders, and I believe not only leaders that are there, but leaders of integrity, people who can take this country to a bigger and better place. Because I do not understand why that Mr. Ruto has to continue recycling those failed people that he said they were corrupt, incapable of doing anything. Why is he being held hostage? Anywho, he is, as Dr. said, we cannot continue supporting this government whatsoever. We cannot. I have tried, but I think I cannot. So with that, I want to say thank you so much, Marge, and everybody else who has been in the space talking about this. But we must remain focused, as Dr. has said. It is time or never. It is now or never. Ruto must go. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Marge.
so much, Dr. Fabi, Rogers, Ains, and then Degwa in that order.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I have a few submissions. So the first one is that Ruto must go. So this is how this conversation cannot start with any statement apart from Ruto must go. And actually, Ruto has clearly shown us that he's a careless president. He doesn't care about life, And then today he was very arrogant. We had we had what he said in I don't know, was it Bomet or somewhere. Now, another thing that I want us to do is these politicians who are assisting him, his allies. I think for them not to support, or rather support the CS that have been reappointed, let us not allow them to speak anywhere. If you see these politicians anywhere, if they want to speak, let us shut them down and say Ruto must go, so that they don't speak anywhere in the public. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rogers, for really keeping the time. Fabish, and then Ains.
Thank you so much, ndugu Hilary, dada yetu Maj, ndugu wakili Daktari Miguna, ndugu wakili Ndegwa. I want also to start by saying Ruto must go. And another thing that I want to bring is the attention of the political broker, anaitwa the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo. I think as we are also championing for Ruto must go, we want also to send a message to Olusegun Obasanjo to stop meddling with the affairs of Kenyan people. The problem of Kenyans can be solved by Kenyans, not other actors. He's a political broker. He's as somebody, not a statesman, somebody with no morals.
So tunataka pia hiyo ujumbe ifike kwamba Olusegun Obasanjo must leave the country within 24 hours and we don't want to anywhere to see him again in our land because we did not invite him and we don't have any business with him. He don't have any business with us and we are tired of these political brokers. If you want to talk with Ruto, Ruto is his in-law, amepeana mtoto huko kuolewa. Kama anataka kuongea mambo ya ndoa msichana wao ama hajamaliza kulipa mahari, they can talk elsewhere but not to meddle with political affairs. So I think this is a message that we should send and we should retweet that Olusegun Obasanjo should stop and never meddle with Kenyan affairs. Another thing is that Ruto, when we ask him question, anaanza kutuita anarchist, anaanza kutuita, we are telling him that we want him to go. His sycophants are asking us, where do we want Ruto to go? We want Ruto to go nowhere else but Kamiti prison because even the Sugoi farm is stolen from someone and when Ruto go, that land should be reverted back to the owner. The Muteti family should occupy their land that was grabbed. So we want Ruto to go to Kamiti. We are glad we have Wakili Ndegwa. They will do that after Ruto has gone. Watahakikisha kwamba wamemsafirisha Kamiti na shamba ya Sugoi imerudishwa kwa the family of Muteti. Thank you. That is my submission.
Thanks, Fabish. To Olusegun Obasanjo, I actually had retweeted something. As we speak, Nigeria, the constitution of Nigeria does not even give Nigerians enough time to vote. It's shocking. And the population is huge. But we have people flying in, even our ex-president was flying in to go and observe an election where people do not even have time to vote. So by the time they're finishing, the voters are just at the mercy of the people who are helping. You're being told, okay, the time is over, but you can just come in. So that's the status. So I think as we try to meditate, to like negotiate, we should also look at our countries and try to make sure that all is well there. Ains, please.
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear. 2 minutes, please.
Loud and clear.
Okay, so today I'm just going to address something. I'm just going to address the president directly, since he decided to decrease threats to the Generation Zs and the millennials, and everyone who was taking part in this protest today. Mr. President, I just want you to know to listen to me real quick. This is something that you must listen to because you keep on trying to like hide yourself as a religious man, and like you keep on trying to take cover under the guise of the church, which is a very corrupt. So like you've already murdered a lot of people, and you said like you murdered them and you said like that you gave us the opportunity to speak and that you wanted to listen. But I want to point out something, that you did not listen until you were out on the streets. Whatever that you said, it's already false. You did not withdraw the bill until people were out there protesting. So claiming that you are a listening president, it's already false. And let me tell you something, that blood requires a recompense. This is something that the preachers in the churches that you go to will never tell you. But let me tell you something right now. The blood that is shed, when you shed an innocent man's blood, it calls out to the Lord. Like in the Bible, when Abel was killed by Cain, the blood kept on calling to God until Cain got what was coming for him. And this is what will happen to you, and to you for all the innocent Kenyans that you've killed. The blood will keep on calling to the Lord, and the God will give you will answer them with their judgment, the judgment that will fall upon you. You will not even believe it. Your case is a case similar to the cases of David and Saul. All Kenyans wanted was for you to humble yourself and come down and listen to them, but you did not. You chose violence. The same thing that Saul chose. And let me just I think this is, I don't know whether you'll take it as a threat or as a prophecy. But the more blood that you'll shed, your end will be the same like Saul. You will be dethroned from that throne that you think is untouchable. And I ask for all the young Kenyans out there, please do not fear. Please show up for the protests. Let us give him the answer. Let us show him that we are all united and we are not relenting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aint. Yeah. Let's go to Ndegwa Wakili.
Yeah. Thank you very much, host. Thank you very much, Dr. Miguna, for your submissions, and the submissions that have been delivered ably by all the participants. I only want to address two issues. Then one, I'll ask Dr. Miguna to give us some guidance. I want to address the question of collective responsibility in government and most importantly in cabinet. When we called for the resignation of the president, that is Mr. William Ruto, and I begin by saying that Ruto must go and echoing that, he decided to dismiss the cabinet. The dismissal of the cabinet was a wholesale condemnation of their incompetence. Doctor will agree with me that in constitutional law, we have the doctrine of Montesquieu. And Montesquieu, the philosopher, speaks about two aspects in a cabinet. He speaks about collective responsibility and he speaks about individual responsibility. So by Mr. William Ruto agreeing to dismiss these individuals, he confirmed our position that they had failed, not as an individual cabinet minister, but as collective cabinet. So for him then to go and try to sever some of them and to sanitize some of them, it's an insult to the revolution. It creates much more anger to the revolution. It confirms that he's taking us for granted. Under collective responsibility condemnation, there cannot be redemption. You cannot redeem individuals who have wholesomely been condemned. And it's on that reason, therefore, that tomorrow we are filing a petition before the High Court for interpretation. Number one, Mr. William Ruto is a very cunning man. He dismissed them wholesomely without processing them through the due process. That is to mean that you cannot simply say or point out why Murkomen was dismissed. You cannot point out why Duale was dismissed. And due to that lack of indictment, because we are not taken through the due process, because the Constitution contemplates under Article 47 that people will be subjected to a process that evaluates them. Equally under Article 73, 75, and 74 and 75, it presupposes that before you are dismissed, you are taken through the due process. But he denied that process or that opportunity so that then he can go and redeem some of them. In my view, none of them qualifies to be reappointed. None of them qualifies to be redeemed. None of them qualifies to be recycled. On the other aspect, I would wish to ask Daktari to guide us. I have seen in other struggles, for example, the ANC struggle in South Africa, the ZANU-PF struggle in Zimbabwe, the struggle that was in Namibia. I have seen them, and we can give many examples. Even the NRA struggle in Uganda, or SPLM struggle in Southern Sudan. I have seen them at a particular juncture, people going out to other international communities to seek for partnership of individuals who resonates with us. Is it now the time for us to move on and seek people and partners who can resonate with our cause, who can identify with our cause and try to get some partnership? Is it the time that we now start sending out emissaries? It's a fact that we're in a struggle. Mr. William Ruto understands that we're in a struggle. He's creating his defensive mechanisms. Then we also need to create our counter mechanisms. Because I believe that we are all advocating for a non-violent movement. A non-violent movement that yields and puts substantial pressure on Mr. William Ruto. So I'm just seeking for guidance. Is it the high time that now we start moving towards that direction? Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, comrades in the struggle, we'll hit the High Court. The High Court is very responsive these days, so that we can have that process of vetting these crooks halted by the High Court as we await the interpretation. Thank you very much, host. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Let's have yes, please. Go.
Meg,
Take a go. Yes. Yes.
Meg, this is Neto. I was keeping my voice until when I make the last closing comments, but what Kalindegwa raises are two things that I'd like to clarify. Now, on the first part is this argument about collective responsibility of cabinet. Yes, it's true there's a doctrine of collective responsibility of cabinet, but that collective responsibility is to the extent of the decisions and the unanimity of cabinet. As a member of cabinet, you cannot then excuse yourself or, take yourselves away from the decisions that cabinet has taken. It's not to be interpreted in the manner in which he wants to try and interpret it. But the second thing I'd like to say is that it is true within the meaning of Article 75 of the Constitution, and of course, this is what I'd like him to canvass in High Court tomorrow, and of course, UGM party will also be part of that, is that, given the provisions of Article 75 of the Constitution, it says that, once someone has been dismissed from a state office, then they're disqualified from being from holding any office. So of course, it's true that the couple of cabinet secretaries that were earlier on dismissed from cabinet are not qualified to be members of cabinet. But I disagree with him when he tries to say that Article 47 provision of due process was not followed, because again, the president himself, if you look at the Gazette notice which was dismissing the cabinet secretaries, he writes the reason as to why. He gives there's a ratio. Cabinet was invited to evaluate their performance. They did evaluate their own performance. And he found that with that particular evaluation, they were short of what was supposed to have happened. So in a sense, there was due process, because he's the one who hired them. He set for them the terms, and he found them incapable of being in office. So I just want. Whereas it's true that a couple of the cabinet secretaries that were astral dismissed cannot qualify to be reappointed. That is also a separate and distinct argument from the doctrine of collective responsibility. So that does not mix the fact that half the cabinet was brought back was because of the doctrine of collective responsibility. Thanks much.
Thanks. Do you want to peg your closing remarks, or was that all, Neto?
I'm happy to make a couple of closing remarks. Therefore, then, so I was going to speak three things in closing. Of course, I agree with the Fabish when he says that Olusegun Obasanjo should be paid his balance of the bride price. Then he leaves Kenya alone, so that at least Kenya then becomes a republic that is autonomous. But number one, from the comments that we've seen from the president today and with his actions on Friday, it is definite that we are dealing with a captured president. As to how he's captured or who has captured him, that is what we really need then to distinguish, because he's recycling of people who everyone else has issues with. And in fact, if you'll be surprised at how much corruption, how much how much unqualified, if that's English, this set of 6 or so cabinet secretaries that have been recycled have been subjected to. You'll really be worried. So we're dealing with a captive president, and the best way we can help him is to make him go home and rest, to reflect upon his captivity in a way that sets out the Kenyan people, sort of the Kenyan people. So as we move into this next week, which in my view is the second wave of this particular protest, I really think, number one, we need to make them intense, decisive, and sustained. And with sustained, I really like to borrow what Dr. Miguna has said, that we don't have to then timetable them. We don't have to roster them in terms of Tuesday or Thursday. If we can get going in a sustained manner for the rest of the weeks, starting Tuesday until this particular president leaves office, then I think that will be a very good thing. The third and the last thing that I'd like to see is with regard to the struggle. And I just want to buttress what General Miguna said, that the struggle must be protracted yet multifaceted. I think a speaker has said very well on the call that there is need to get all hands on deck. When it started before, Gen Zs were really apathetic to the fact that they wanted it to be their own struggle without millennials and Gen X's. But I really think that we've discovered that everyone has their play. Gen X, the millennials have their role to play, the veterans have a role to play. Gen Zs could actually be the infantry. They can do all that they were. This is their fight. This is their vision. But I think everyone has a role. Let's just agree in terms of who does what, because it is our country. They've set the agenda. It is about constitutionalism and rule of law. Everyone else needs to find out what they can do in their little space, in their little way. And lastly, is just something that Ndolo said with regard to professional institutions and engineers. I really think that the reason why people prefer professional institutions is because of the two-tier process with which they are able to check the members of their bodies. For example, the LSK or the Engineering Society is able to check their membership in a professional manner. So it provides a two-tier process, but it's not necessarily that the fact that the professionals run better government or are better at governance. It's just the dual advantage that you have. So sometimes you get good lawyers, sometimes you get good engineers, sometimes you get bad lawyers, you get bad engineers as well. But the process of lawmaking, especially the finance bill, there's always many vested interests. And you'll be surprised if at all you followed the debate of the finance bill, the PS Treasury and even the various senior budget people at Treasury were not so sure what was the content of the budget. They were not so sure why they were doing certain levies. So that just shows you that government itself is very opaque, and it does not. We really need to get back Kenya into a place where institutions make sense, institutions matter. You do not have a PS that is supposed to be the one responsible, or the minister that's supposed to be responsible for treasury does not even know the content, does not have the reasons as to why certain levies are being levied. So I really think I agree with you. We must get back our country. We must take Kenya to where it belongs, and it is a role that requires everyone else's hands. Thank you, everyone else, for listening. And I think it was a very good debate tonight. And thank you very much. Looking forward to the next one.
Thanks, Neto, and for your submissions, for answering the questions, and for taking your time to be with us. And thanks to everyone also and the listeners. And as we finalize, let's not forget to build the network, follow the host, the co-host, the speakers, look left and right, and follow each other. And especially those people who have small following, please ensure you follow each other. I want you guys to have at least 10,000 so that if you have to share something, we can do. Daktari, I see your hand is up. Please take a go.
Yeah, I would like to make my final submission, please.
That's all right.
Yeah, I wish to happily report to the country that General Olusegun Obasanjo left Kenya yesterday. So I hope he doesn't come back. Maybe he got his last installment of the bride price, like Neto had put it. And to just tail back on what Neto said, good leaders do not come from the professions necessarily. Good leaders come from individuals of integrity, no matter what profession. So hopefully Kenyans are trying to overhaul the system so that they can choose leaders with integrity, built on a people-focused institutions and system of government. The idea that if there is an amendment of the constitution, Nairobi should be under the national government is a no-go zone. The constitution is very clear. Kenya is governed on two levels, the county level and the national level. If you want to change that, you have to go through a referendum, and Kenyans have to change their system of government. And maybe at the end of the revolution that will happen, but that should not be our focus right now. Number three, I wish to announce happily also that President Biden of the United States of America has just dropped out of the 2024 presidential race in America. And that's very good news for Kenyans. because this is the administration that has been trying to fortify Ruto. Now that Biden is gone, we should send Ruto together with him so that they can go as a couple. But we know for sure that there is no grandmaster at State House who is going to support Ruto, who is going to ensure that they help Ruto divide Kenyans so that he can continue ruling. So we should hail this as a good success, and we should top it up by sending Ruto home. Number 3, as I have said repeatedly, this is a collective effort, and we should keep it as such. And because it is a protracted struggle, the idea that Mr. Ndegwa the Wakili gave regarding sending emissaries and whatnot is part of that struggle. We should not just send emissaries. We should send letters and petitions to the International Criminal Court, to all the major administrations of Western governments and organizations, and to be able to alienate, isolate, and weaken the Ruto regime. What they did with the Ford Foundation was actually good for us and counterproductive to them, because at least the Ford Foundation now knows the enemy of Kenyans sit and sleep at the White House. To conclude, as I have said, let us keep this united. Let us work together. Let us avoid sectarian parochialism. Let us stop dividing ourselves and attacking each other. And as Frederick Douglass said, and I will quote another, important thing that he said, because I started with this quote, I want to close with another quote. Frederick Douglass said, "Where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, and in Kenya poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where one class is made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe." So in the Kenyan context, you cannot tell us that you want property to be safe, and yet you are organized in a conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade Kenyans. And you want everybody to be safe, but you are abducting, torturing, and murdering Kenyans. So we have to send a clear message to Ruto. Duplicity, hypocrisy, deception, divide and rule will not work. Let's start it on Tuesday. Let's continue it on Wednesday. If it does not fall on Tuesday, let's continue on a daily basis until Ruto falls. Occupy JKIA, occupy CBD, occupy Parliament, occupy Parliament Square, occupy everywhere. Thank you, comrades. Have a good evening. May God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harry, for taking time again to come and answer our questions and also to share your wisdom with us. We really appreciate that. And so, as we continue now, we're also closing at the top of the hour. We'll have KDR TV and then Gerald Teach do her closing remarks, and then we close.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maj, Dr. Miguna, my good friend NATO, and all listeners. Still having so many problems, and I don't really know exactly how we'll manage. Go through my problem or nightmare is about the IEBC. If Wakilindego is still here, you guys, we need you, or we need to work together and ensure that the people who are hounded out of the office, the Cherera 4, should come back to the office so that IEBC can be in a position to recall or reconstitute a snap election if it's called tomorrow.
So these people were basically hounded out of the office with fictitious claims. Um, they were hounded out of the office just because the regime which came in saw them as traders or saw them as people who are not really good to be in the office. So the only way they did was to constitute a quasi process, or let me call it a kangaroo court process. Then it was passed very fast in parliament, and then they were out of the office. So these are the people, if we really need to fight justice, I mean, not really fight justice, but if we really need justice, the very best option is for us to ensure these people come back. As a media personality or practitioner, I've received so many petitions, and the very best way possible is just to tell the MPs, tell the lawyers out there that many Kenyans, especially in the diaspora, are really yearning to see these people back in the office so that the process of ensuring that MPs are recalled, or if a snap election is called, because this is the chess card now Ruto is really having under the table, whereby he has to bring back the MPs, he has to buy time, he has to do all he can manage to ensure that he stays back. I mean, he stays in the office. My other problem or concern is about Ruto's regime now brandishing journalists or the media fraternity as calling for anarchy. When we report what is basically happening. We don't report for the government to be happy. But a responsible government is supposed to be seeing or listening to what the people on the ground are talking about. Mr. Gachagua has been saying that he's listening to the ground. So if they are listening to the ground, why can't they just act and ensure that whatever is being spoken or whatever is being said in the ground, on the ground, is listened to? Today, when Ruto was in Bomet, it was really a very hectic time for him because people heckled him. The only place where at least he had some good timing or good time is when he was in the church. And the words he spoke in the church, we've really calculated as analysts. We've really calculated those words and say, and we are really thinking very much that he's really planning something very bad. You know, if this is somebody who is very genuine and listening to the electorate or listening to Kenyans or the Gen Zs, he could be listening and then acting. But him, again, recycling the people, he himself, by a stroke of pen, said that they were incompetent, and now bringing them back. And he's basically waiting to see what Kenyans are really thinking. And he also is just tricking the opposition, knowing very well that the opposition are not really going to have a consensus. Then he'll just bring back all his cabinet. So there's nothing really much we can discuss with our friend Bwana Ruto. The very best option for him is just to vacate office so that Kenya can continue. It's him calling for anarchy. I've been having so many discussions, especially in the WhatsApp groups for intellectuals. Some of the intellectuals, we call them intellectuals, they don't know which school they went to. What they're telling us or what they are saying out there is completely obvious. So let's forge as a country. Let's move forward. Let's occupy every part.
Minneapolis. Let me answer you. Number one, it would be duplicitous and hypocritical for us to say Ruto should not bring back the ministers that he fired, but then we claim that the IBC commissioners that were fired should be brought back. We will be shooting ourselves in the foot. We cannot do that. Revolutionaries don't do that. We know that the IBC as a whole is rotten and should be overhauled together with the entire political architecture of the country. You cannot pick and choose. If it is rotten from top to bottom and you want to uproot it entirely. You cannot leave some parts of it. So no, I for one will say the Cherera 4 go and probably should even be prosecuted because some of the things that they did amount to illegalities. The Supreme Court spoke already, and we cannot overrule the findings of the Supreme Court if we are going to be a people governed by the rule of law. So I wouldn't encourage that. We are focused on Ruto. Anything that takes our attention to anything else is a diversionary strategy. Our focus should be on Ruto and his regime. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Dr. Harry. And actually, this topic comes